In 1959, Jackson Street was the center of Roseburg's downtown business district, home to a variety of stores selling everything from furniture to jewelry, clothing to sporting goods, plus coffee shops, family restaurants, banks, drugstores, theaters, and hotels. Downtown was the hub of activity, not only for local residents, but for the outlying communities of Douglas County as well. Most of the businesses in the Jackson Street area were protected from the main thrust of the blast, and the majority of buildings remained standing. However, the explosion would still wreak havoc on Roseburg's core. Nearly every window downtown would shatter as a result of the shockwave, some blown inwards covering store interiors, while other plate glass windows were sucked outward by the power of the explosion. Churches in the downtown area suffered heavy losses to their stained glass windows. Witnesses to the aftermath described the streets as being covered by several inches of broken glass.
Jackson Street looked like it had been bombed. There was just glass everywhere.
We drove down Main Street and it was crunch, 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 crunch. Just an inch or two of glass. Just never saw so much glass all my life.
In addition to all the broken windows, doors were blown off their hinges, awnings bent and shredded, signs wrenched loose from the businesses they advertised, and the interiors of almost all of the downtown stores had been left in total disarray, furniture and fixtures overturned and thrown about, covered in plaster and glass fragments. Local authorities had called in Oregon National Guard troops immediately after the blast to help lock down the disaster area. Although a small amount of looting had taken place in the hours following the explosion, arrival of the Guard would bring law and order to the blast zone and keep onlookers out of the way of cleanup efforts. The National Guard would remain at their post for nearly 2 weeks after the explosion, keeping watch over the destruction, and a 24-hour kitchen would be established to provide meals to the Guardsmen, as well as others participating in the cleanup of the blast area. The Roseburg Police Department began issuing passes to allow business owners in and out of the downtown area to assess the damage and begin putting their shops back together. Initially, merchants boarded up their stores for security until windows could be replaced. Inside, store owners and employees worked long and hard hours to clean up glass and blast debris along with scattered and damaged merchandise. Merchants were forced to dispose of many items like food, clothing, and mattresses because of penetration by glass shards. Each building would be subject to a thorough inspection, and necessary repairs would have to be completed before businesses could be declared safe once again. Local contractors had their hands full repairing damaged buildings along with new construction projects that would rise from the ashes of the blast area. Glass companies were even busier. Some glass contractors came from as far away as San Francisco to replace windows destroyed in the disaster. Despite the hardship suffered by local businesses, a study conducted in 1963 by the University of Oregon College of Business Administration found that 86% of Roseburg downtown merchants were closed for less than a week after the blast. Fortunately, 98% of the business community affected by the disaster had sufficient insurance coverage for damage caused by the explosion, as well as the subsequent fires. By Saturday, August 15th, 150 Roseburg merchants were once again ready to welcome customers into their stores, and area residents were anxious for their return. Traffic was allowed over the Oak Street Bridge, reconnecting the western portion of the city to downtown for the first time since the blast. Between all the shoppers and those merely waiting to catch a glimpse of the devastation left in the wake of the Roseburg disaster, the city was visited by around 75,000 people that weekend. Officials reported serious traffic jams and bottlenecks despite efforts by police officers and National Guard troops to keep traffic flowing. Regardless of the difficulties, a sense of normalcy had returned. Roseburg was once again open for business.